Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to today's video. Today I have my end of year Colourpop palette ranking. I've been doing this for the past 2 years now, so it is just tradition here on this channel. So we are gonna count down my favorite palettes from Colourpop that I've tried. There are 33 palettes in total. I honestly didn't think there would be so many. I just feel like this year I still am focused on Colourpop for sure, but I'm not as focused as I used to be, so I didn't expect 33 palettes, but here we are. It's Colourpop, or what do we expect? So with that being said, we do have 33 palettes to get through, so let's just go ahead and hop right into the video. Starting on the bottom, do you guys know that TikTok sound? I think it's from like Dance Moms or something. I'm not familiar with the show, but starting on the bottom, we have dun dun dun, the Crystal Clear Aquarius quad. And even though I'm ranking these pretty low, it's not that it's a bad palette. I guess just in comparison, it doesn't compare to the higher numbers. And if I was to look at this palette, I wouldn't know what palette this is called. You know what I mean? A lot of the quads I'm not so familiar with. I only technically use this once. So I would say that this one was like my least favorite one that I used. So Aquarius, I'm sorry. Not a bad palette, but just at the bottom. Also, I forgot to mention before we move into number 32, I am filming this a little bit early in the month. I'm filming this on the 8th of December. So any Colourpop palette I review after this, whether it's uploaded before or after this video, obviously it's not included in this video. So just keep that in mind. Right now, currently, I am working on my Muppets review, so I'm not gonna include it in my ranking today, but just to let you guys know, you know, it's the holidays, I want to pre-record, so if you don't see a palette that I might have uploaded a review on, you don't see it in today's video, that's the reason why, just pre-recording. But anyway, on to number 32, we have Pisces in the Sky. I remember doing a really simple look with this, like just a little pop of teal in the inner corner, which I really liked. Again, if I were to look at this quad, I wouldn't know that this is called the Pisces in the Sky palette. But anyway, moving along, I do have the Jasmine Chiswell palettes. The all matte one, although it is nice, not my favorite out of the two. I do prefer such a Starlet a little bit more, and I think her collection was quite pretty. It's just like, I'm not a fan of like these smaller quads unless it's something more like everyday. The next bunch are heaps of quads, so we're just gonna shoot through these because I'm just gonna be repeating myself. We next have ACAI You Baby. If I'm gonna use purple, I'm gonna go for a 9 pan and not this one. And then the same as Strawberry Sweet, this was all part of their smoothie collection. I also have Star Fruity. Again, I did like the looks I got out of them, but just nothing wow, you know? We also got the Gemini palette. I am a Gemini myself, so it was a nice palette. I like the look that I got out of it, but I'm mainly talking about color story and then also how often I use the palettes. And for these quads, this one, Never Tore Us Apart, did not use these a lot. Got it AGATE. Did not use that a lot either. Then we have the Darth Vader palette. This one is probably my least favorite Star Wars 9 pan palette. I think it's just like the color story. It's just the least me and what I'm gonna pull from. Like, just look at my aesthetic today and then this palette. You'll see why this is not my color story. So it's still a good palette nonetheless. I still like the looks I got out of it. I think they were quite unique. But then we come into like more of my favorite quads. These quads I really enjoyed. This one on the Mango, I think this one was my favorite out of the smoothie collection. It's just a really nice bright orange palette, and I feel like oranges, like bright oranges, I don't really use often, so I really did enjoy this quad. And then I really liked the Tender Loving Cancer. I think it has a really good ratio and also has like a duochrome in there as well, which makes it a little bit more unique. And then this one was probably my favorite Zodiac quad that I did. So I was doing these little tutorials on these quads, but then I kind of stopped once I found out that Colourpop discontinued them. But this one, Aries one, was my favorite. I just love reds. And the next palette we have is in the Limelight. So this one I also enjoyed as well, but if I was to choose like my favorite green palettes, I would probably still go to Just My Luck or even Meant to Be. This one is more of like a lime green. Obviously it's in the Limelight, but I guess if I'm gonna go for green, I'm gonna lean more towards either mint or like pastel vibes, or I'm gonna go for like a forest true green. Although this was really pretty, still like the looks, you don't get much variation out of this palette, so I haven't really picked up this one as much as like my other green palettes, for example. But then we have the last quad, which is my favorite quad that I tried this year, and it is GETTIN Tiger. This was for Lunar New Year. I think I was just really happy with their Lunar New Year collection this year, and I really enjoyed this one. I think, you know, the burnt orange, the darker brown, the pressed glitter, the gold. It's just a classic quad. Now we go into actual palettes, not quads, not 5 pans, 9 pans, mega palettes, everything onwards. So we're starting off with Coast is Clear. I'm putting this one here because, as you can see, I am missing 2 of the shadows, so I feel like I didn't really get to play with this palette to its full potential. But this was part of their Extra Celestial collection, which was really pretty, a lot of sparkles. It was like Colourpop trying to do K-Beauty or trying to do Douyin. It was their attempt on it, and I think it was really pretty. I do think it was pretty, but I would say Coast is Clear was my least favorite just because I was missing 2 shades, so I feel like that's not a fair chance to rank it higher, you know? But then I have this one here called Clear the Air. This one, I loved it, but I think out of the 3, color story wise, this one was like the least interesting. But with these palettes, they do have a lot of different textures in there. We got the Super Shocks and just a lot of sparkles, which I really love. So I'm gonna put this one here. And now we're gonna see the first mega palette. Drum roll, please. It is Smoke and Roses. So I think this was one of the first Colourpop palettes I reviewed this year, so my memory is like not that great and I can't really remember. But I mean, it's not a bad palette. Like this mega palette, you get so many beautiful pinks, darker shades, you get your transitions, it's a good palette. Like this, you see this suits my aesthetic, this suits my makeup style. But I guess out of all the makeup palettes, I really do forget about this one. Like, I don't really remember this one as much as I should, like considering how much it's my vibe. Then we have my favorite Extra Celestial collection palette. This one is Clearly in Love. We have the pinks. I feel like I need to use these palettes a bit more. I feel like I really strayed away from Colourpop a lot this year, like truly. Unless I'm doing like colorful looks or very specific looks, then I do grab for my Colourpop palettes. But yeah, I really branched out this year, like a lot. Moving into the next palette, we have another mega palette. This is Getting Fresh. I remember the looks clearly because all the looks I did with this palette was Nayeon Pop inspired. A lot of neutrals, warm browns with pop of lime greens and a bit of coral in there as well. I like this color story. I think it's a really nice take on like a summer palette, like spring summer palette, and it was just enjoyable to use. I love these like warm browns. Something about these warm browns really speak to me. So I really enjoyed this palette, what can I say? Next palette might be a little bit biased because I did grow up with this show. It is the Avatar The Last Airbender palette. Like this collection I was so excited for. I mean, there's not many collections from Colourpop these days that I genuinely get so excited for. Like if I don't get this in PR, I will buy it kind of vibe. This was one of the palettes. This was one of the collections that I was so excited for. I've always wanted to live in this realm, you know, being with Aang and Katara. I would be tough. I want to be an earthbender, so what would you guys be? That's what I always ask people. That's like my conversation starter. What element would you bend? But yeah, I think maybe it's a little bit biased, but I think it's a good palette. For a collab palette, they did like all the little details. I really love that, so I'm gonna have to put it pretty high. And then before we go into the top 10, we have a number 11. It is the Feeling Bubbly palette. This one is really pretty too. Just didn't make it to the top 10. It's like a light, almost mid-tone type of neutral palette. It's really pretty. This is what I wanted like maybe Going Coconuts to be. It's a little bit neutral with a little bit of warmth in there. I would say the only con about this palette is that it doesn't just go so dark, but nonetheless, I still really enjoyed this one. Well, that being said, we are now moving into the top 10 palettes from Colourpop that I tried this year. I will say guys, I just planned this video this morning. I was grabbing all the palettes out of my drawer and one by one I was like, okay, I like this palette a little bit more than this one. That's how I approached it. And again, I'm approaching it in a sense like, Do I like this color story? And how often did I use? I really struggled ranking this year. I feel like I really struggled. So honestly, a lot of these places could be interchangeable, but here we go. Let's count down. Number 10, we have the C3PO palette. This is the most recent palette I reviewed other than me doing the Muppets one currently. It's like a beautiful, rich, warm golden palette. This is what I wanted Good as Gold to be. Definitely see myself like picking this one out. Like if I need something really warm and honey-like, I'm gonna go for this palette. And then number 9, we have Glow Getter. This one was part of their, I forgot what the collection was called, but it was like, I don't know, bugs inspired or something, like insects inspired. But there were 2 other palettes. This one is the lower half, but the other 2 are also in the top 10. So that collection literally all in the top 10. This one is coming at number 9 just because this one's a little bit cooler for me, but I still love the look that I got out of it, and I feel like it's a little bit more unique. Like this color pairing, although it makes sense when you look at it, when you are playing with it, you will get something a little bit different. Then I have their Sweet As It Can Be Winnie the Pooh collection. This is another collection I was excited for when they came out, the little honey pot lip balms, so cute. But I also really enjoyed this palette as well. These like muted spring-like jewel tones, that's the best way to describe it. So pretty. And when I was using this palette, I fell in love. Oh, I knew it. I think I said it in the video maybe. I was like, this is going top 10 or something. I love how you can get something really warm up here, but then you also have some pinky shades here. So you get like some Hannah Montana vibe. You get dual looks. So I really love this palette and it's so cute. I even kept the box of this collection. That's just how cute it was. And then similar vibe of how I feel about the Winnie the Pooh palette is the same how I feel about Daisy Does It. It just gives you the most like pretty muted spring-like metallic shadows. The color combo is really pretty as well. I think it's like the green and yellow combo. It's giving me spring vibes and that's what I really love. I'm a spring girl. So this one I really enjoyed as well. Like these 2, it's like similar vibes, so that's why I'm putting them like so close together. The way I feel in them is the same. And then we have the So Fly palette. So this one, you know, came together with Glow Getter. I'm ranking this one higher because the look that I got out of this was the most mesmerizing eye look I've ever done. This shade, FYI, it looks like a rainbow on your eyes. And I know it sounds really gross, but you know when you look closely at a fly, they have like this multi-chrome color to them. I know they're black, but they have like this multi-chrome shine to them. That is what this shadow is, and it's so pretty. I was just in awe of the look that I did. I'm not talking about like my skill, I'm talking about the shadow and how it looked like. It was just so pretty. I absolutely love this palette, so unique, and it's hard to say that with a Colourpop palette, you know, that a Colourpop palette is unique. So this one I really enjoyed. And now we move into the top 5. Can you guys guess what is gonna be in here? Let me know, comment down below, pause the video. But in 5th place, I have the Secret Admirer palette. This was from their Valentine's Day collection, and this one holds a really special spot in my heart because with this collection for Valentine's Day this year, I got to be on their YouTube channel, which is so crazy. It's always been a dream of mine, and you know, working with Colourpop in a paid capacity after reviewing them for like 5 years is just so crazy. I mean, it's crazy to believe I have an affiliate code with them, not just a code, affiliate code, you know? I feel like just all those reviews I've done, all those 3 looks, like my hard work is paying off. But with this palette, I got to do a look on their YouTube channel, and I always just used to watch their YouTube channel when it was Jordan and Sharon and they were sharing the newest collection. That for me was like the golden days of Colourpop. I was always looking forward for them to like swatch everything before the day of launch. It was just so exciting. I mean, it's still exciting now, of course, but like back then it was just a different type of vibe. So for me to like see myself on their channel and then for you guys to like comment all those sweet things you did, it was just a really special palette. But memory aside, palette is really nice nonetheless. I think it's so cute because you have the heart-shaped pans and it's just a pink palette. You guys know I'm a pink girl. You get, you know, these more burgundy, deeper shades, but you get the fuchsia pink as well, transition, mid-tones, deep tones. It's a really good pink palette, and it's even cuter that it has heart-shaped pans. In 4th place, this palette I feel like suits my aesthetic today perfectly. It is the By the Rosé palette. This one, honestly, I actually have not used a lot. This one I'm putting really high in terms of color story. It's a palette I'm like, girl, you need to put this out and start using it more. You get your transition, mid-tone, dark tone, a brown, a highlight, then some really pretty metallic shadows. I will say within metallics, they do cross over a little bit, but I love this palette for the color story, and yeah, girl, I think I'm gonna leave this one out. I'm gonna leave this one out and play with it more because I just need to. I need to. Alright, moving into number 3. Let's go. We have the WANNABEE palette. Okay, this one I was really contemplating at putting it at number 1. But number 1 and number 2 palettes, I used that the most this year. This would have been number 1 in terms of, I guess, how I feel in it. Isn't that just so luscious and warm? Like when you look at it, don't you just feel cozy, and all of a sudden you just want to go out in the sun and just experience a hot girl summer, you know? Even though when you look at it, it looks super, super warm, but you get some hints of like a peachy gold. So it's not too golden. I would say it's just very warm, but the warmness is so flattering. When I'm telling you, this collection from Colourpop, the one with all the insects on it, I don't like insects, but like that collection was probably Colourpop's best collection this year. All 3 palettes, 10 out of 10. This palette would be my favorite. It really does come to personal preference. I just love a good warm tone palette, and this one, just like, you just want to keep staring at it because it's just so pretty, you know? And then my 2nd place palette, like I mentioned, is the palette that I use the second most. So number 1 would be the palette I use the most. This palette would be second most, and I think it's just a really great staple palette to have in your collection. And that palette is, oh my gosh, actually the last 2 palettes, spoiler alert, are both mega palettes, which it's kind of crazy because I'm not a mega palette girl. You guys know I'm a 9 pan or 12 pan girl, but 1 and 2 is mega palettes. So in number 2, we have the Matte About Hue palette. This is their all matte rainbow mega palette, and this palette in my collection is fairly new. I feel like I got this in maybe September, so it's only been like a few months, but the way I've been using this palette, it just comes so handy because literally you have the rainbow, and this palette would have been perfect if they added a red, a matte white, and a matte black. This would have been number 1, I think, if it was like that. If they had a red, white, and black, you can just see the looks you are gonna get out of this. And I feel like you can do neutral looks. So whenever I was doing any inspired looks, and I'm like, okay, I need just some colorful shadows in one palette, I will grab this one. And when I was filming my looks with this palette too, love the looks. Remember them? Beautiful. Absolutely love this palette. And then, okay, with that being said, we are moving into my number 1 Colourpop palette of 2022. What is it gonna be? It is, honestly, to my surprise, the BT21 collab Bon Voyage palette. This one is not a bias thing. You know, I love BT21, love BTS, but like this is not a bias thing at all. Truly, this is the palette that I've actually used the most this year. In a similar way of Matte About Hue, where it just has everything, like every color you need. And this one is not so much like rainbow. It's definitely colorful, but it's not like rainbow. And I didn't really expect myself to use this palette as much as I did because I just felt like the colors were just so scattered, but I find myself time and time again going for this palette knowing that it has this specific type of tone. Like this pink is not a typical pink. This pink is like a cookie pink, and then this purple is like a fuchsia lilac purple. Like the colors are very unique, and the color combos, this palette as well, I remember exactly the looks that I did with them. I had an inspired look in mind, and I was like, I can do it with this palette alone. Like it was an orange and teal combo. Where are you gonna get an orange and teal combo in a different palette? It's only in this palette, guys. And this one has the matte white, and this is not a black, but it's like a grayish black, you know? So this palette to me this year, like just, it took me by surprise. I was not thinking I was gonna love this palette as much. Like obviously I was excited, B221, we love it. but I was not thinking it was gonna be #1 this year, you know what I mean? But it's sometimes with those palettes you don't think you're gonna like, but you end up liking it once you try it. You just need to try things out. Did you guys expect that? I don't think you did, right? I don't think you would have expected this to be #1, but this is #1. Those were all 33 Colourpop palettes I tried, ranked. Honestly, ranking questionable, but again, I kind of just went with my gut feeling when I was taking them out one by one. Didn't really want to put too much thought in it, you know, like whatever you think of first, that is where it's gonna go, and that's what we got today. So I hope you guys enjoyed my annual Colourpop palette ranking. A lot of end of year wrap up videos are coming soon. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you, and I'll go ahead and see you guys in my next video. Bye!